such a big deal for communication and team fights, and it can catch teams off guard because, you know, a lot of these teams aren't used to playing on LAN, right? You know, one of the things you really do as a Nocturne is you look at your teammates' computer screens, and that's one way to counter the Nocturne in these LAN environments. But a lot of these teams do play online, and all of a sudden, Conway getting caught out.
Yeah, oh, he gets even hit by the charm. This could still result in him going down, and it will. I mean, well, that's a terrible way to start a game as Nocturne. Lose flash, give first blood over to the opposing jungler. Steal. Getting off early here in game number 2.
That is, I would say, I would give that to scouting. I think that, you know, this is something teams do where they, you know, recognize level 1 patterns that you would do. Something that my teams have done in the past is, you know, you see a team, oh, they set up on blue side like this, you know, 5 times in a row. Okay, let's do this level 1. Let's walk through the vision gap they have and find that pick level 1. That's exactly what they did. Ryu wasn't there watching what was happening on the top side of the map, and they just walk in and they find the easy pick onto Conway in the early game. Lost his flash, such a big deal for, you know, the ability to not really cover these 2v2s anymore. They don't have the gank pressure onto LeBlanc, but he definitely has a dueling power to be able to contest the Viego and LeBlanc, and he really needs to be there for his Aurora in the mid lane because quite a gankable champion.
Yeah, man. Well done, I think, there by West Point to realize DFM were up to some suspicious business and play well defensively around it. Harp going to find that stun there onto Char, and he's going to take a sizable amount of damage, but Udapon on the other side does likewise take just as much, if not more, from Lil V and his 4th shot coming out there of the Jhin. So all things considered, probably a favorable trade in favor of West Point there, especially with the heal that can potentially come out of Char9.
It's just a nice use of Ashe overall. This champ in the early game is pretty much the best AD carry in the bot lane. You're having such a big range advantage over your counterparts, being able to press the attack is such a big deal. And, you know, have to see, Udapon did go for the Hawkshot level 2, so this is very standard, you know, being able to spot out Conway. They now recognize that he's pathing up, and now Steel can just adjust his gameplay to whatever he really wants to do for the rest of this game. They know that this Nocturne is tracked and what he's going to be doing for pretty much the next 4 minutes.
Yeah, Harp connecting on that Zenith Blade and immediately regretting it. There's a fantastic trade coming back there from Char9 and Lil V down this bot side. You know, Ashe, yeah, as you said, very, very strong in the early game, but I think importantly, in comparison to last split, it's not that Halo Blades Ashe support where you're just...
Yeah.
I remember times where we'd be like, okay, it's like Ashe, whatever, Varus, in the bot lane, it's like against a Callista Nautilus, and you're like, okay, surely, you know, this is one lane that Ashe does not win level 1. Face checks into a Nautilus, gets hit for everything, and then just runs him down and kills him. It was the most absurd thing. Now, this time not being able to really do that as you are just paired alongside an engaged support most of the time. 116 though, he's suffering in this mid lane after some early pressure from Steel.
I think, you know, where we might have some downtime here. I'm pretty sure I do remember when Ground Zero came over here last time, they versed DCG, and they played, I think it was the Ashe Varus bot lane against the Orca on the Pike.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you would think that, like, oh, the AD carries are so strong, but, you know, they got rolled by the Pike. The Pike landed the hook, and then all of a sudden it's a bad matchup.
Yeah, Orca. Oh, that guy is fun. I want to see, you know, as you said, a bit of downtime, although Lil V's feeling pretty good about this. He's going to get himself a nice little wave here, or a chance to come to gobble up some of that XP. But I really hope we get to see, like, for the first time ever, the LCO go against the top seeds of the PCS, you know. We've never actually got to see that. It's always fallen short at the last hurdle or not being able to get even started at all. Is somehow, some way, Char9 has gone down. He still has flash available. Harp, I guess, just catching him by surprise. He's going to be able to pick up that first blood there with the Ignite tick. I want to hope we will get a replay, but I don't know how that ever happens.
I think what happened there was DFM probably looked like they recalled and just stayed in the bush, and then we probably saw like Char9 use cooldowns to push the wave, but yeah, they stayed and they found the kill. So yeah, they pretty much just canceled their recalls. They're looking for that cheese onto Char9, and I think either he just face checks them here or there's just a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's the solo queue classic, isn't it? They just like sit there in the bush and wait. Does work out,
it's
though.
It's disrespectful.
Yeah, and I was going to say first blood, but it wasn't. I kind of forgot about Kongyue's early death, but still, Harp going to be happy. He's going to be accelerated to pick up that early Well, it's probably Warmogs again.
And I think West Point have, really, navigated the worst of the early game. We do see 116's wave bouncing towards the mid lane right now. He needs these members for the rest of his team to come and help him as soon as possible, because we really see the DFM members grouping up towards that mid lane. And, unfortunately, he has to share experience with his support, which, is quite a big deal for mid laners, because these level breakpoints are so crucial about winning your trades. But Lil V has double summoners.
He gets stunned. Will have cleanse available. Does use it, but really well-timed stun there from Harp. Means that he's going to be forced to use that flash as well, and not going to be able to pick up this next wave almost certainly. Looking for a dive, and yeah, Lil V just too low on health. No summoners, Char as well, no ignite to really threaten a turnaround. Although, trying to find something, not really able to. It's just the plate going down. A bunch of minions too, lost here for the bot lane of West Point.
We haven't really seen this in a hot minute, right? This was a really common play back in the day where you would just, trade the top side objective and just get your AD carry lead, get them some plates, deny the enemy AD carry, and then, you would hope that your jungler or your top side of the map who was getting advantage to be able to out carry or outweigh the deficit that is being caused on the bot side of the map. But a lot of the times right now we just see the, dragons traded for the grubs, because it's just, much harder to dive in the current game state that we are seeing. But the fact that DFM were able to find that initial chunk onto Lil V, blow out both these summoners, is the reason why he could not walk back onto that tower.
Yeah, so well played by DFM, as they have kind of just naturally gained themselves a 1k gold advantage. 2 kills, of course, does help, but ultimately just seems like they are laning better. Not much to say, I don't think, in this top lane matchup. I'm going to be completely honest. There is kill pressure for both of these top laners, sort of as items come on. They can certainly look to all in each other, and it's a bit uncertain who gets the kills in that instance, as Harp finds the Zenith Blade, finds a little bit of damage, but not all that much. It's actually turned around. And here comes Kongyue, but he's ended up under the mid lane tower here, off the side of DFM, and Shadow Cristo comes down, and it lands. Aww. And boy, oh boy, we have a Fed Leona here, as 3 kills now picked up for Harp, but all things considered, just a clean fight out of DFM. And Udapon even affecting it here from the base. And flash forward, 65, going to have, 116 rather, did have to flash away. Does manage to survive there, as it ends up just being a trade of those flashes, but such a massive advantage here for DFM.
And I was saying we're having such a slow early game, and I was ready to start yapping about some nonsense, but straight away the ults go down, and the fact that Conway is dragged under tower is such a big deal. Taking the extra tower shot, and then this Enchanted Crystal Arrow from base. Harp picking up the double kill, obviously not ideal, but this is still a very one-sided skirmish for the side of DFM, and that flash being blown onto the Aurora means the repeat gank can come through for DFM. They really want this. But I want to ask you a question, actually, because, in the past, we've had the, the classic 1v1s in the top lane, like the Gnar versus the Renekton, or the Gangplank versus the Gnar. What do you think is the current, new age top lane classic?
I mean, it's probably just Renekton Cassante right now. Last split, it was Renekton Jax. Well, actually, yeah, Renekton Jax, Renekton, Cassante, Jax. It's kind of a trifecta at the moment, and it doesn't feel like either of them particularly win in any instance. As I say that, though, All Out can come through here from Ray Faki. He doesn't have the mana. It seems as Ryu almost finding himself a kill. Ooh. Not quite with the damage, but it looked like Ray Faki trying to angle in for that All Out, but not quite with the mana available to look for it. By the time he popped those cookies. Yeah, no junglers up here. Will Ryu play aggressively? The rest of the map is losing and might feel almost pressured that he has to look for something here to find an angle for their team, but it doesn't seemingly happen to have worked out. I mean, Ray Faki did get a lot lower on HP and Ryu lost his rage bar, but it doesn't seem like there's anything really going to become of that trade.
Going to be able to reset. Doesn't have the TP for himself, though, so he will lose that wave. Potentially he's going to stay, though, so, if this is extended, constantly, chip health away from Ryu, he's going to find himself with that wave advantage. But if he does overextend and get himself knocked back into turret, there's absolutely the potential for Ray Faki to outplay with that All Out. but we'll have to see if that, how that does go, because, the nice thing about Cassante is you have so much sustain, just from your base health regen, and the fact you can sustain off landing those Entofo strikes. So just overall going to be able to sit here on a low amount of health, and, Kongwei really doesn't want to commit his ult up here because it's just not where he wants to be on the map.
Yeah, absolutely not, although he is here, and if he can find himself a kill, he's not going to complain. It's just probably pressure better used elsewhere most of the time. 116 going to be able to dodge out of that Zenith Blade, but he's not going to be able to dodge out of the Flash Q. The knock-up coming there from Char9 is going to do little to keep his mid laner alive, and just so much over-aggression and great punish coming out of Harp in that bottom lane.
And this is back-to-back games where we see Harp just be, overall so far out of the 4 teams we've seen play, out of all the supports we've seen play, I think that Harp has the trigger finger. If he sees you without a summoner, he will engage. If he sees you out of position, he will engage, and he has consistently found these engages. Unfortunately, he's also found 3 of the kills, which should be going towards his teammates, but he is, constantly finding these setups for his crucial, carry members to be able to snowball and take over this game in the mid-game for himself.
It kind of just feels like if he sees you, he's going to engage, right? You're on his screen while I'm pressing Zenith Blade. And at least so far in the series, it has worked out. I was going to ask you real quick, what is the most kills? Because there was a ridiculous game recently in the PCS, but what was the most kills you've ever seen, like an engaged tank support have, let's say by the 15-minute mark, or 14-minute mark when the plates go down, we'll say?
Oh, okay, I will say O supports are really good at not stealing kills. Not a lot. I don't think we've ever gone past 3. I think having 3 is already an up echelon.
Yeah, okay, so the second to last series PSG Talon played up against DCG, it was game number 1, Woody on Leona, and he didn't steal the kills, mind you. It was like his whole team died except him. At 14 minutes, he had 7 kills as Leona. And they did end up winning that game, but it was like, it wasn't like a situation where his W explodes and he gets the kill, or his Ignite takes over. It was like Betty was dead, Junja was dead, and he was just walking around headshotting people. It was insane, but it's been a trend recently. The reason I bring it up is, Harp's really fed now. Kaiwing in game 1 against Bliss ended up picking up a bunch of those early kills as well. And maybe there's something wrong with the damage numbers if our supports are just constantly getting every single kill.
And there is a TP coming through. This is Ryu with the Dominus ready. Can he find the correct number for his team?
Yeah, he's certainly very strong. Probably the strongest champion on the Rift. He's going to use that power. Pops the ult. Teleport used. It is going to mean that West Point force themselves to get this dragon. It'll buy them 5 more minutes in the game if DFM do pick up the next couple. But it will then give a lot of gold over to Ray Farkey that he would not otherwise had access to. Now, there goes the Dominus. Renekton already recalling. Char9 getting so low. The grand entrance, the quickness. He is going to manage to get away, and a lot of damage turned around by Lil V. He's trying to find all the damage that he can. In comes the curtain call. Won't be able to find any way to land the ultimate, at least onto Steel, who does get away, but it's not going to result in much. 116 even trying to use that ultimate to find something himself, but to no avail. As team fight, it doesn't result in any kills for anyone, although in saying that, Paranoia comes through, and Harp, he turns around with that Zenith Blade. We've cleansed our inner thoughts, and Shutdown does come through there onto Lil V as Char is trying to make his way out, but the distortion, the chain landing, everything landing. Aria is so strong. Reset even available here for Steel, but can Lil V turn it around? Absolutely not. And once again, it's Steel and Aria reigning supreme here in game number 2.
There is no TPs for Lil V from his whole lanes here, so he's left to his devices, but no mana towards Aria, so they're going to back off, and this is going to be, the win for DFM. And overall, that is really, really well played by DFM. The fact that they recognize the TP so fast in their jungle, they have the eye on the minimap, they spot that one out, they disengage from that one. Ryu, kind of forced to just recall as soon as possible, and the moment they see that recall go through, thanks to the, Hawk shot coming out of Utapon, they engage, they pull the trigger. Unfortunately, unable to find that kill, but the re-engage coming out of West Point, they get the shutdown, but a lot of kills going over to this LeBlanc.
I think Lil V truly was fighting his demons there when he flashed. I mean, cleansed. He was just strolling around, cleansed his inner demons. It's alright.
Sometimes you forget you don't have heal anymore.
I used to do that all the time, but I'm also not a professional player, so I think it's more forgivable. As Ryu, he's being looked at now, finds a stun onto Aria, trying to deny this minion wave from crashing. Dominus is now available, does get stunned up though, and is getting taken very low. The Color Meek not going to heal him up, and after the Ignite, certainly paying dividends there in that tower dive as DFM are just running away with all sides of the map.
And this is what we really expected. This is what you were telling me you expected from this matchup, right? You thought that DFM was going to be very dominant and that West Point would really struggle, obviously, because they're not the favorites. But, you know, I didn't think it was going to be a blowout like this because, you know, I think the players on the side of West Point are definitely really strong. I just think the overall macro and team play of DFM is just, you know, something they're extremely good at. None of their players are, you know, these insane laners, like these Chobi level laners where they're just going to, you know, win these individual 1v1s. But none of them are going to fall behind. They're going to rock up to the mid game, these dragon setups, these grub setups, these you know, side lane, these 1-3-1s, and they're just going to be the first to every objective. They're going to be first on the TPs, and Harp's always going to be the one engaging. Yeah, talking about engaging, he lands another Zenith Blade. Certainly not scared to pull the trigger. There's Harp here. He has his Warmogs completed. It's not actually truly completed, as he won't have quite the bonus health to activate that passive, but he is rich. He is, yeah, he's feeling loaded. It is a bit of a wallet gap as Warmogs to a Kindle Gem and upgraded boots. I do like Char's build better, though. Yeah, going for the Locket? Yeah, Locket. I think he might actually go for Zeke's. I think Zeke's is a very, very good item on both Rel and Rakar. I find it has a lot of value, but we'll see. Maybe we've definitely seen. We've definitely seen that item, you know, more favored towards the, like the bruisers, just because of that AoE slow, that cheap, you know, Jack Show-esque defensive items. But the whole point is the engage is coming through. Yeah, Harp is finding his way onto Little V, but there is no follow-up, and looks like he is stuck in a very rough position. But yeah, so tanky. Curtain Call will eventually take him out, but it's two found back on the response. Actually, is still Lil V connecting with those Curtain Call shots. He does manage to pick himself up too, including a shutdown. Here goes Ray Farki, though. He lands the Q3. Aria as well as Steel are available. There is a reset also available for Steel, although it does eventually time out. This Rift Herald almost certainly will be picked up for them, but nice fight back there from West Point and great accuracy coming out of Lil V, who finds himself with all of the gold on the side of West Point. And you know, that is the best case scenario for West Point, right? Even though that was a 3-for-2 in favor of DFM, they are finding two kills in general from a game state that looks, you know, lights out. You know, you would say that if there's just two really good teams versus each other based on the game state or the gold lead that DFM has right now, they should be able to win this game pretty convincingly if they play consistently for the rest of this match. But West Point doing a really good job to punish the fact that Harp is just overextended here. He's just engaging without his team. You know, he's trying to start this fight out, and he is so tanky. He buys so much time, but he's just ahead of his team, and the fact that this Aurora ult does, you know, so much damage overall, and they do find the exit kill onto Udapon is really nice for the game state of West Point right now. Yep. Kind of situations like that where at the beginning of the fight you wish you didn't have a Jhin, but at the end of the fight you're kind of happy you had a Jhin, right? You got that execute on the end onto Udapon, which pretty much only Jhin, maybe like a Jinx or Ezreal ult could have got, but then also you probably kill Harp a whole hell of a lot faster if your AD carry is one more of those more traditional sort of DPS carries that we tend to have. The Zeri, as you know, comes to mind. And that is a very scary dragon or a mountain soul that DFM is going to work towards. You know, you look at the damage profile of West Point and this Cassante in the top lane and pairing that with all these mountain dragons he's going to pick up. I did not expect this Cassante to die this entire game. Yeah, it's looking pretty challenging to find a way through that Cassante, but I'm sure it's going to be an attempt. But yeah, huge engage, lands the three-man grand entrance and a massive ult coming through there for 116. So much CC is being found. Steel will have a reset. It gets himself away. The 116 with that passive movement speed. Can he find anything more? It's going to be Lil V picking up one kill for himself. This is a 2 for just the 1. This time in favor of West Point as they fight back in game number 2. And Char9 finds the crucial, heroic moment for his team. You know, what a grand entrance to find 3 members, pretty much all the carries of DFM in that one engage. Pair that up with the Aurora ulti that does so much damage. We saw, you know, the panic flashes coming out of DFM, but they're just headbutting that wall. They can't get out of there, and Steel was so lucky to get that reset, to get that heal up with the possession, and survive that one. Yeah, it was an insane engage. Honestly, felt like it came out of nowhere, so props to Char9 for finding that angle, finding a way for that 2-man grand entrance, as well as the charm at the very beginning. Certainly see there is life within 116, and Lil V here is so much damage were sort of being dealt there by those carries.
But as you said, I mean, this timer that is on West Point as Cassante slowly gets more and more resistance, it's going to become very difficult to ever get through the immense amount of armor, the immense amount of magic resist. Ultimately, there's no real tank shred available, just the Black Cleaver and a bunch of AD damage really coming through for West Point.
I am curious about Udapon's build because this is the 20% reduced damage for range champs on the Kraken Slayer, right? So this is the DPS nerf, but also going for the Hurricane second is you're enabling yourself to get towards the 3 items faster because you just farm faster overall. But if that was the case, why not just go for something like the Shiv and then bridge that with the higher DPS options instead, right? And stuff like the LDR into that Infinity Edge. But this is the build he went for, and I'd say it does scale better. Having the Hurricane always means you're going to do a lot more AoE DPS. And you look at the combo of West Point and how they function, where they just dive into you in these front to back cases, could get a lot of value out of the Hurricane there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you always like to have Hurricane if you can against 3 melee champions, right? Is still going to be able to ult away from at least the ult that came in at 116 for now. And a lot of abilities, a lot of ults being used, but not a whole lot of value being found as Harp even on the bottom side is just able to continue walking out of that team fight. And this once again now DFM with complete autonomy on the map. Rayfaki freely hitting away at this tower, and it's a teleport to no teleport between those 2 top laners, and DFM just massive amounts of poke. I mean, the LeBlanc nowadays is less of an assassin, right, and more of a poke champ as you just sort of dive on in. Curtain Call coming out though, and maybe they'll be trying to find something. He is stunned up, he's 1 HP, he's able to somehow survive the fleet footwork as well, healing it up to make sure nothing can take him completely out. But it's DFM, they take 1 kill in the fight, they take the tower. Pings now towards the mid lane as they head for their second inner tower of the game. Rayfaki on the other hand just completely fine to continue hitting away at this bottom side of the map.
Yeah, and this is just, West Point having no ults in their arsenal to be able to contest the pressure coming out of DFM. And, the LeBlanc in particular is this champion who can just, you don't have to play for that double distortion, or the highest damage combo of LeBlanc. You just want to play for that consistent DPS, which is just going to be the distortion over the wall into the double sigil. If you do land the chain to find the execute, you will get those one-shots, but it is just not the case with so many champs blocking. But, Arya trying to find the execute on the outside with Daddy's ult, doesn't have that last auto to get the execute, but still does his job. Will be forced out of the fight, and the rest of his team just, cleans this up with the numbers advantage.
I cannot believe after watching that at all. Hold up. We've found some play. West Point, down but not out. I'm not sure we needed to commit 2 ults, but we certainly found the kill. And it's still, I mean, it's more gold. Now, going over to 116, he finds his first kill of the game there. It means that there's no real potential or real threat over this Baron, as we are now 23 minutes into the game, and a very strong Ashe, very strong LeBlanc. It was certainly looking threatening, but alleviating some of that pressure. Shadow Flame second.
Okay. Definitely an interesting purchase, but it's I need a power spike right now for this next team fight. Obviously, you couldn't afford the next large rod, but the ult's going out. Talking
about team fight, yeah. Through comes the Zenith Blade, Soul Flare used, and Charter Crystal Arrow lands on a Lil V, but he does have that cleanse available for himself. Gets himself immediately out of that. This dragon is up. The stun coming through, and we might find even more play. Steel does flash away, but he once again gets smited. It's going to be 116 this time. Able to find that kill. Now we almost have access once again to our Aurora ult. Arya, though, trying to deny it. Flashes forward. He gets that snare onto this Aurora, and he does manage to find the kill while Udapon freely hitting away. Flashes over. 1 kill, 2 kill. That's a certain 3rd kill. Harp takes it away, but it's now 1 person versus 4 of DFM as they turn their attention to this 3rd dragon, or perhaps the Baron.
I feel like they have the choice of the litter right now. They didn't have a creep wave, unfortunately, to be able to break the base, which is, the main pain point for this comp with DFM is, sieging against what West Point have provided, because, Udapon cannot walk up and hit the turret when you're versing stuff like the Aurora. The ult is so scary to deal with. The only chance you can really chip away that turret is going to be the LeBlanc, just constantly distortioning over the wall, chipping away the tower with 1 or 2 orders every single creep wave, and that's going to take a very long time to break, right? So instead of that, you'd rather just go to these objectives and force these team fights like you see here. Even though this was a very nice initial fight for West Point, they do find the engage on the Steel once again. he gets out just in time with a sliver of health, and then Arya with the TP onto the mid tower that you see right now runs to this fight and you know, cleans this one up. And a lot of resources were blown to take out Steel there, and they have nothing left for this fight, and all of a sudden this Ashe is just unleashed to just shoot you, and you're never going to run away from how much CC and slows this team has.
Yeah, pretty impossible to get away. Arya as well, finding a massive chunk there on the back end. As I'm looking at the picture-in-picture, and we have a whole bunch of ults being used. Rayfaki, he's going to be the only one really stuck in that Aurora ult, and that's not going to matter. Yes, we have the dominance prop, but 1v3, you're not going to win that, especially as Renekton this week at this stage of the game, and that's another 2 members, the jungle, the top lane of West Point going down, as this Baron is going to be started up and certainly taken for DFM.
Yeah, this just should be a free objective for DFM, and with this Baron, I think they will be able to break the base, especially with Arya getting really close to that level 16 on LeBlanc. It is such a crucial power spike for this champion. It lowers your main DPS by quite a significant margin. We're going to see him constantly jumping forward and looking for these assassinations. Yeah, more action, Harp. Doesn't matter that we're doing Baron, it's time to fight. Not going to be able to connect quite on that Zenith blade, but Arya is still going aggressive, does get the chain, but going to wisely back off before any chance of some CC lockdown does come through. Oh. What happened? One of these blew off. Yeah. And enemy team was waiting. He actually just had the entire kitchen sink completely centered him. 116, kind of using his ult, I guess, as a gap closer more than anything. Does manage to keep himself alive, but it's Ryu who teleported. Oh, he didn't even teleport, he just walked there, but does eventually get taken out. And I mean, West Point really do have their backs up against the wall now, right? 10k gold, disadvantage. 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes even, until this Dragon Soul could potentially come through, and you got 2 minutes of Baron buff to try and withstand. Not sure who's killing Cassante. No one that I see on my screen, that's for sure. No one. I don't think anyone is killing this Cassante. Maybe the laser in the fountain, if he does overextend a bit, they get some shots onto him, they might be able to get half his health down, but... Yeah, Harp going in again. It's a massive ult coming out of 116, and it's a shutdown, 1-for-1 as things stands. 80 carry for that mid laner, but things are turning around, and things are getting a lot worse looking here for West Point, as another 2 people do fall down. 3-for-1, curtain call activated, but Rayfaki is just standing there completely... does not care, absolutely not a care in the world about this Jhin. Zenith Blade this time for Harp does go wide as Lil V tickles away at that health bar of this Leona. Top side, Inner, going to be taken out. This Baron buff still well and truly alive. Engage going to be looked at here for Steel. Not able to find it, takes a little bit of damage, but 3-item Jhin not doing all that much at this stage of the game. Mid lane tower gone, mid lane inhib gone. Will they lose any more? Respawns are coming through, but just how much does that matter? It's so demoralizing when you watch your strongest member auto-attack Leona or Cassante and not even do a 10th of their health with a crit. It does have the LDR as well, so has the armor pen he needs, but doesn't have that big ticket item in the Infinity Edge. Just really amps up your damage, or like the fact that a lot of these members on DFM aren't being pushed down in health value. He doesn't find the execute to be able to do as much damage as possible. And solo kill out of 116, and he's not convinced it's completely over yet. Harp will be able to find the kill. No, he won't even. 116 has somehow made the most crazy Houdini escape and turned this one on its head as 2 kills are found for this Aurora. And what on earth did I just witness? That was just the masterclass of Aurora. You're using that stealth to outplay Harp, read him like a book, but doesn't have the damage to be able to solo kill out in the end when Char9 arrives with that shield and saves his mid laner. But a lot of these kills that West Point keeps finding, they don't really result in anything, right? It's the waves aren't being pushed out, the objectives aren't taken because they're not up, but it's just nice to get some gold, and it gives them some extra combat power for these coming skirmishes. But this is actually Arya being the one to go forward in this team fight, or this skirmish in this 1v1 on such a low amount of health against, the unavoidable ulti, and just well played by 116 to, kite this one out and buy enough time to pick up that double kill for his team. Yeah, Arya almost managing to pick up that kill there, but didn't, and that gives over a shutdown and more gold now to 116, who picks up a Seeker's Arm Guard. Can be very critical for keeping himself up, keeping that ult up time higher.
ahead of this next team fight, which will be for this Mountain Soul. If Kongyue is not able to get his way into the pit, if they're not able to find a winning fight, this could just spell a pretty disastrous end to the game here and series for West Point. They have no vision. It's just going to go over. They're going to give it 5 more minutes until, or 6 more minutes, should I say, until a potential Outer Soul and, Outer Dragon, which is just has to be what West Point are playing for.
Yeah, West Point absolutely need this. They need to buy. I would say that DFM needs to, mess up a tower dive. Did you see the arrow come through? They really need to mess up a dive, right? That's the only way West Point is going to be able to buy 5.5 minutes worth of time to get us the next objective, because, it's so easy for them to just set up and siege as DFM or potentially even dive.
Yeah, trying to set up a dive, but the tower's gone, so it's not even really going to be considered a dive at this point. Char9 getting very, very low, and Dominus, Derek's used all the same as well there for Ryu on that Renekton. Ray Farkey is just walking forward. Yeah, he does not care. He can tank out whatever he wants. As through goes 116. This is the guy with a lot of gold. He gets at least the Guardian Angel down. But what's that going to matter as Arya goes forward, flash, and it's going to be Sonya away. There is a little bit of low health bars coming through, but how much does it matter? Not a whole lot, as now Udapon is just walking on forward as this Ashe 3v4 for the end of the game here for DFM, and somehow Ray Farkey was taken out. But what does it matter? As I have a frozen screen. I have audio. Oh, we're back. We're back as, tower getting taken out. There goes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. They're fighting so much damage, and DFM, they're going to all but confirm it. This is the series win for that side. It's DFM who will be going up against Team Bliss later on in this week. And I think, Team Bliss against the odds stacked against them, got the win against Frank, but this DFM team looks like a whole new beast.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this was the outcome we all expected. Tonight, for our second series, we got to see the expected outcome. I think DFM as a team, I keep mentioning how strong they look in the mid game with their, team play, their flanks, their engages. They just look on the ball. We don't really see that hesitation out of them. But I will say we saw a lot of, misplays from DFM as well, from such, strong leads. They were constantly getting caught out, but it's not something to really worry about. It's just a quick fix. All right, boys, you just need to, focus up a lot more on this next series. And I think going up against Bliss in the future is going to be quite an interesting matchup to me, because I think that both these top laners are very similar, and I think it's going to come down to, the mid versus mid matchup for me.
Yeah, I think, as you said, mid versus mid matchup, Hayri having a really good performance for himself in series number 1, and ultimately Arya here looks infallible in that mid lane. The Arya game